The heaviest anchor we drag through life isn't made of iron, but of comparison. It's that silent, relentless weight that pulls us down into the cold depths of doubt, whispering that we're not enough, that we're behind, that we're failing. We look at other people's gardens, at their vibrant blossoms and towering trees, and we see only the weeds in our own patch of earth. This feeling, this slow and creeping sadness, is one of life's greatest and most unnecessary pains, a self-inflicted wound that robs us of the joy of our own becoming. But I want to tell you a story about breaking that anchor and learning to sail your own sea. Imagine a vast, ancient forest. In this forest, there's a mighty oak. Its branches thick and gnarled, its roots digging deep into the soil, a symbol of unshakable strength. Not far away stands a weeping willow, its leaves cascading down like a green waterfall, a picture of grace and flexibility. Deeper still, a towering pine pierces the sky, its needles fragrant and evergreen, a testament to resilience through the harshest winters. Does the oak ever look at the willow in despair that it can't bend so gracefully? Does the willow gaze at the pine and feel ashamed of losing its leaves in the autumn? Of course not. Each tree stands in its own truth, fulfilling its own purpose, contributing its unique beauty to the whole. They don't compete, they coexist. The tragedy is that we, as humans, so often forget this. We try to be the oak when we are a willow. We try to swim when we were born to fly, and in doing so, we lose the very essence of who we are. This was the trap that had ensnared a young man named Leo. Leo was a musician, a composer whose heart beat in rhythm with quiet, intricate melodies. From a young age, music was his sanctuary. In his small apartment, surrounded by sheets of music and his beloved piano, he could build worlds out of sound. His compositions were like gentle rains and misty mornings, subtle, emotional, and deeply personal. They weren't loud or flashy, but they were honest and they were his. For a time, that was enough. But then came Julian. Julian had been in the same music conservatory as Leo, and he was everything Leo was not. Julian's music was a thunderstorm, bold, explosive, and commercial. He wrote catchy, powerful anthems that were quickly picked up for movie trailers and advertisements. His success was a firework display in the night sky, impossible to ignore. On social media, Julian posted pictures from sold-out concerts, state-of-the-art recording studios, and collaborations with famous artists. Every post was a fresh reminder to Leo of how far behind he felt. The poison of comparison began to seep into Leo's soul. He would sit at his piano, his fingers hovering over the keys, but the music wouldn't come. Instead, Julian's triumphant chords echoed in his mind. He started to believe his quiet melodies were weak, his subtlety a flaw. The joy he once found in creation was replaced by a gnawing anxiety. His sanctuary became a courtroom where he was both judge and defendant, and the verdict was always not good enough. In a desperate attempt to catch up, Leo abandoned his own style. He tried to write like Julian, forcing bombastic crescendos and simplistic, catchy hooks into his work. But the music felt hollow, a cheap imitation. It was like watching a willow tree try to puff out its trunk to look like an oak. The effort was painful and the result was unnatural. He sent these new pieces to producers and labels, and the rejections piled up. They all said the same thing. It lacked soul. It lacked authenticity. It lacked him. Broken and hopeless, Leo stopped composing altogether. The silence in his apartment was deafening. The piano gathered a thin layer of dust, a monument to his lost passion. He felt like a ghost in his own life, watching others live in vibrant color while he faded into gray. He believed his time had passed, that his unique song was one the world simply didn't want to hear. One afternoon, seeking an escape, Leo drove out of the city and walked into a national park he hadn't visited since he was a child. He walked for hours, his mind a storm of self-criticism, and eventually found himself in a quiet grove. And there, he saw it. A small, unassuming stream was making its way over a bed of smooth, gray stones. It didn't roar like a mighty river or crash like ocean waves. It simply flowed. It gurgled and whispered, its path winding and gentle. As he watched, he noticed the life it supported. Bright green moss clung to the rocks, nourished by the constant moisture. Tiny fish darted in the shallow pools. A deer knelt cautiously at its edge to drink. This small, quiet stream, in its own humble way, was the heart of this part of the forest. It wasn't trying to be a river. It was succeeding, perfectly, at being a stream. A profound realization washed over Leo, as clear and cleansing as the water before him. His music was like this stream. It wasn't meant to be a thundering river that carved canyons. It was meant to be a gentle, life-giving current that nourished the quiet places in the human heart. In trying to become Julian's thunderstorm, he had forsaken his own beautiful, life-giving rain. He had been so focused on the noise of another's success that he had forgotten the power of his own silence. With a newfound clarity, Leo returned home. He didn't rush to the piano. Instead, he took out a cloth and carefully, lovingly, wiped the dust from its surface. It was an act of reverence, an apology to a friend he had neglected. When he finally sat down, he didn't try to compose. He just played. He let his fingers find their way back to the melodies that lived inside him. The music that flowed out was soft, melancholic, yet filled with a resilient hope. It was the sound of a stream finding its way back to the sea. It was the sound of himself. He stopped looking at Julian's career. He stopped measuring his worth by likes, streams, and ticket sales. He focused only on the music, on the honesty of each note. He composed an album inspired by his walk in the forest, the strength of the oak, the grace of the willow, and the quiet perseverance of the stream. He poured all of his doubt, his pain, and his rediscovery into the compositions. When it was finished, he sent it to a small, independent publisher known for championing unique artists. A few weeks later, he got a call. The publisher loved it. They didn't promise him fame or fortune, but they spoke of his music with a deep understanding. They called it breathtakingly authentic. Leo's album was released quietly, but it found its audience. It was discovered by filmmakers looking for a score with emotional depth, by yoga instructors creating a peaceful atmosphere, by people listening on rainy nights when they needed to feel understood. Leo started receiving emails from strangers around the world, telling him how his music had touched them, how it had been the soundtrack to a moment of healing in their lives. He wasn't playing in stadiums, but his music was filling the sacred spaces of people's hearts. He had found his success, not by chasing someone else's, but by embracing his own. Look up at the sky. The sun and the moon share the same heavens, but they do not shine at the same time. The sun gives us light and warmth. The moon gives us mystery and reflection. Does the moon feel inferior because it doesn't burn as brightly as the sun? No, it knows its time is the night, and in that time, it is queen. You are not meant to be a perfect copy of someone else. You are meant to be the magnificent, flawed, and utterly unique original of yourself. Stop comparing. Stop looking to the left and to the right. Look forward. Your path is not theirs. Find your strengths, whether they are loud or quiet, bold or gentle, and walk forward with them. Your journey is not a race against others. It is a pilgrimage to the heart of who you are. Find your light, whether it is the sun or the moon, and shine. The world is waiting. Thank you so much for listening. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more tales that hopefully bring a little light to your day. Take care.